ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වරට SLT 4G වෙතින් දැන් Pure TV නරඹන්න. ඉදිරියටම ගෙන යන SLT 4G.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට ඒක
Tonight, friends in need. India sends 10 tons of essential medical aid for Sri Lanka's COVID-19 fight. Up and downs. Sri Lanka's 7th COVID-19 death reported as recovery rate continues to rise for 4th straight day. Slippery slope. Sri Lankan rupee hits an all-time low of 200 rupees against the US dollar.
We target the mid rate to be around 200 rupees by the end of the year. Overall weakening of the currency is likely to be gradual.
Keep your distance. Public urge to limit social interaction during Sinhala and Tamil New Year observances. All this and much more coming up on this Wednesday, the 8th of April 2020.
මේ 69යි 97ට SMS කර රුපියල් මිලියන 3ක මුල්තැන්ගේ උපකරණ දිනාගෙන අවුරුද්දෙම 100 ටයිම් සේව් කරගන්න.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Shanella Fernando. Moving on to your top stories for tonight. Sri Lanka's 7th COVID-19 death was reported today while 2 more patients were released from hospital and returned home. Meanwhile, Defence Secretary retired Major General Kamal Gunaratne says that the only way Sri Lanka can get out of the COVID-19 situation is by the general public maintaining strict discipline and adherence to health and safety protocols. The number of COVID-19 cases in Sri Lanka rose by 4 today, taking the overall cases detected so far in the country to 189. With the number of active cases in the country currently standing at 138, 44 patients have been discharged from hospitals to date, bringing the country's total recovery percentage to 23.4%. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka's death toll currently stands at 7.
අද දින රෝගීන් තිදෙනෙක් වාර්තා වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේ තිදෙනාම වාර්තා වෙලා තියෙන්නේ අප විසින් අලුතෙන් පරීක්ෂණ කිරීම වැඩි කිරීම සඳහා ගත් පියවර ඔස්සේ ඇක්ටිව් සර්වේලන්ස් යටතේ ඇක්ටිව් ටෙස්ටිං මෙහිදී රත්නපුර කලින් රෝගී වූ මැණික් ව්‍යාපාරිකයෙකුගේ ඥාතීන් දෙදෙනෙක් සහ ඒ වගේම කන්දකාඩු නිරෝධායන මධ්‍යස්ථානයේ පුද්ගලයෙකු මේ ආකාරයට COVID-19 රෝගීන් වශයෙන් හඳුනාගෙන තියෙනවා. ඒ එක්කම අප ඊයේ දිනේ විවෘත කරනු ලැබුවා ඉරණවිල රෝහල මේ අනුව කොළඹ කළුතර ගම්පහ සහ පුත්තලම කියන දිස්ත්‍රික්ක හතරෙම රෝහල් හතරක් සම්පූර්ණයෙන් වෙන් වෙලා තියෙනවා. බේරුවල හෝමාගම ඉරණවිල සහ මිනුවන්ගොඩ ලෙස කොවිඩ් සැක කරන ආසාදිත රෝගීන් සඳහාම මේ ප්‍රදේශවල වැඩියෙන් රෝගීන් හමු වීම නිසා තමයි මෙම පියවර ගනු ලැබුවේ. ඒ වගේම ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ඕනෑම ප්‍රදේශයක යම් කෙනෙකුට කැස්ස උණ සෙම් ප්‍රතිශාව ස්වසන අපහසුතාව තියෙනවා නම් ඔබ ඇවිදින් නැතුව විවිධ රෝහල් වලට යන්න නැතුව ඔබට අවස්ථාව තියෙනවා 1390 එහෙම නැත්නම් 1999 කියන දුරකථන අංක වලට අමතලා වෛද්‍යවරුන්ගෙන් උපදෙස් ලබා ගන්න කුමන රෝහලට යා යුතුද කුමන ආකාරයට යා යුතුද කියන එක පිළිබඳව. ඒ වගේම මෙම අංක වලට අමතීම පමණක් නොව ඔබට ස්මාර්ට් ජංගම දුරකථනයක් තියෙනවා නම් පුළුවන් My Health කියන ඇප් එක බාගත කිරීමෙන් ඔබට පුළුවන් ඒ වෛද්‍යවරයා සමග වීඩියෝ තාක්ෂණය ඔස්සේ හමුවන්නටත්.
Meanwhile, Defence Secretary Major General Kamal Gunaratne says that the only way the country will be able to overcome the outbreak will be through public discipline.
වයස්ගතම මහලු පුද්ගලයාගේ පටන් ලාබාලතම ලදරුවා දක්වා කිසිම කෙනෙකුට නිරපරාධයේ මහමග මිය යන්න ඉඩ දෙන්න අපේ රටේ හමුදාවන් පොලිසිය සහ සෞඛ්‍ය අංශවල කිසිම කෙනෙක් සූදානම් නැහැයි කියන එක. මටත් බොහෝ දෙනෙක් හැමදාම කතා කරලා අහනවා අපිට මේකෙන් ගොඩ එන්න ක්‍රමයක් තියෙයිද කියලා. ගොඩ එන්න තියෙන එක ක්‍රමයයි. අපි දැනට මේක ප්‍රෙස් කරගෙන ඉන්නවා වතුරේ තියෙන රබර් බෝලයක් වගේ. රබර් බෝලේ වතුරේ ප්‍රෙස් කරගෙන තියෙන තාක් කල් ඒක යට තියෙනවා. ඇතෑරියහම උඩට එනවා. එහෙනම් මේ තත්ත්වය භයානකයි. ඒ තත්ත්වයෙන් මිදෙන්න නම් තියෙන්නේ එකම එක සොලියුෂන් එකක් නැත්තම් එක ක්‍රමයයි. ඒ තමයි මහජනතාවගේ විනය. මහජනතාවගේ විනය තියෙනවා නම් හරියට අපිට මේකෙන් ගොඩ එන්න අමාරුවක් නෑ. අපි කියන දේ අහනවා නම් මහජනතාව සෞඛ්‍ය අංශය වලට අහුම්කම් දෙනවා නම් මහජනතාව සෞඛ්‍ය අංශවල උපදෙස් පිළිපදිනවා නම් මහජනතාව මේකෙන් ගොඩ එන්න බැරි නෑ. අපි කියන්නේ ගෙදරට වෙලා ඉන්න. ඇත්ත කියන්න ඔය දේ පමණයි.
In the meantime, two persons who travelled to India for a religious ceremony in February and returned to the island on the 1st of March were sent to the Punani quarantine centre along with 16 of their family members today. Meanwhile, two Muslim Maulavis aged 61 and 65 who travelled to Indonesia for a religious ceremony were admitted to the Colombo East Base Hospital after testing positive for the virus yesterday. The detections were made after health services officials conducted testing at the Qasim area in the Putlam district and discovered the duo undergoing self-isolation. Upon questioning by the health authorities and despite the duo claiming to have not travelled anywhere after returning from Indonesia, it was revealed that the duo had taken part in religious observances at a mosque in the area. The 61-year-old Maulavi had also travelled to Tharapuram in Putlam by van to participate in a funeral and returned to Putlam on the 19th of March. Accordingly, health authorities took measures to close off the Mana Tharapuram area today. Meanwhile, a female kitchen staffer at the Karunayaka airport along with 3 of her family members have been ordered into self-quarantine by health officials. The move came after revelations that another female colleague who had maintained close contacts with her at the airport was hospitalized after contracting the virus. In the meantime, an individual who had returned home to Hatton from his place of employment at a Chinese company in Slave Island, Colombo, was handed over to the police by villagers. Subsequently, the man had been admitted to a hospital after displaying suspected symptoms of the virus. Police investigations revealed that the man had fled Colombo via a lorry after curfew had been imposed over the city. In the meantime, a 40-bed hospital constructed to treat COVID-19 patients was opened today in Irana Villa Chilau after the army undertook the task of repurposing the former Voice of America building in a short span of time. The occasion saw the participation of Minister of Health Pavitra Vanyarachi and the Commander of the Army Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva. The isolation hospital is now fully functional with robotic technology and autopilot vehicles for the safety of medical staff working within the premises.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
The police headquarters has announced an extension for the usage of service IDs as curfew permits by employees engaged in essential services until 30th April. Furthermore, the curfew for COVID-19 high-risk zones will remain in place until further notice, while in low-risk districts, the curfew will be lifted at 6 a.m. tomorrow and will be reinforced at 4 p.m.
The police headquarters releasing a statement said that an extension to the validity period for the use of service IDs as curfew permits by public and private sector employees engaged in providing essential services has been announced by the government. Thereby, employees of private and public sector essential services such as ports, shipping companies, the customs, immigration and emigration, the health sector, petroleum services, telecommunications, electricity and water supply, Sri Lanka Transport Board, the Treasury, the Central Bank and other government and private banks and media were granted permission to use their service IDs as a curfew permit. The Police Media Division stated that the validity period of the curfew permit for essential services, which was set to expire on 10th of April, has been extended till the 30th of April. Meanwhile, numerous raids and inspections are being conducted island-wide to nab people attempting to violate curfew laws and misuse curfew permits. Heavy traffic was observed today in Colombo and Paliagoda in spite of the curfew being in place. It was revealed that the majority of these motorists observed were employees engaging in the provision of essential services, while some individuals misusing curfew permits were also detected. Police today also discovered and seized a stock of toddy while inspecting a vehicle in the Walgama area of Bandargama. However, an individual travelling in the jeep had later identified himself as a serving police officer of the Mattegoda police station. In the meantime, it was also observed how people gathered in the streets of Kandy town, even though the city has been declared a COVID-19 high-risk zone. Furthermore, shops in the city were also seen open for business, with goods being provided to shoppers as well.
බඩු දෙන්න ඔයාලට අවසර පත්‍රයක් තියෙනවද? ඩිලිවර් කරන්න විතරයි. බඩු ඩිලිවර් කරන්න විතරයි. දැන් මේ අරගන්නේ. මේ බලෙන් එනවා කට්ටිය. කොච්චර පොලිසියත් කියලා තියෙනවා.
Following this situation, the COVID-19 Prevention Unit of the Central Province ordered the strict implementation of the curfew within the province. From 20th March to today, 18,000 people have been arrested, while 4,667 vehicles have been seized for various curfew violations.
අද දින උදෑසන 6න් අවසන් වූ පැය 24ක කාලය තුල තමයි මේ ඇඳිරි නීතිය පනවුදා සිට වැඩිම සංඛ්‍යාවක් අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීම සිදු කළේ. එම ප්‍රමාණය 1800ක් පමණ වෙනවා. ඇඳිරි නීති කඩ කරන්නන්ට එරෙහිව අප මෙතෙක් කරගෙන ගිය යම් නීත්‍යානුකූල ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ඊටත් වඩා දැඩි කිරීමට ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොලිසිය කටයුතු කරනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ වන විට මෙම අන්තර්ජාලය හරහා නිරෝධායන ක්‍රියාවලියට බාධා පමුණුන් ලෙස නිරෝධායන ක්‍රියාමාර්ග සමච්චලයට ලක් කරන ලෙස ප්‍රකාශ වීඩියෝ පට යෙදූ පුද්ගලයින් 9 දෙනෙක් පමණ අත්අඩංගුවට ගෙන තිබෙනවා. ඔවුන්ගෙන් එක් කාන්තාවක්ද සිටිනවා.
Following measures taken by the government to curb the spread of novel coronavirus, it was announced that the curfew for the high-risk zones of Colombo, Gampa, Kalutara, Puttalam, Kandy and Jaffna districts will remain in place until further notice. The curfew in other districts, however, will be lifted at 6 a.m. tomorrow and will be reimposed at 4 p.m. on the same day. Following this short lockdown break, the curfew will be lifted again on the 14th of April at 6 a.m. and reimposed at 4 p.m. on the same day. Furthermore, it was decided at the meeting of the Presidential Task Force on Essential Services yesterday to keep pharmacies across the country open tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. As per this decision, all pharmacies island-wide, even ones in COVID-19 high-risk zones where curfew is still in force, will stay open for service. The task force has also decided that all Ayurveda hospitals must operate during curfew hours. Every dispensary or registered dispensary in each divisional secretariat is also permitted to operate a mobile service during the curfew.
නිෂ්පාදිත දිනය කවදත් අලුත් වටවල තේ අරගන්න.
වටවල තේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ තේ එක.
While releasing the auspicious times to be observed for the upcoming Sinhala and Tamil New Year, the Ministry of Buddha Sasana has urged the public to limit their social associations while celebrating. The Sinhala and Tamil New Year will dawn on the 13th of April, coinciding with the transition of the sun from the zodiac sign of Pisces to the sign of Aries. The Ministry of Buddha Sasana, Cultural and Religious Affairs released the official list of auspicious rituals for the Sinhala and Tamil New Year for all parts of Sri Lanka. Accordingly, the sighting of the new moon falls on Sunday, the 26th of April. The ritual of cleansing for the old year falls on Saturday, the 11th of April. The dawn of the new year falls at 8:23 p.m. on the 13th of April. From 1:59 p.m. to 2:47 a.m. is considered as the Punya Kalaya, where all food must be consumed before its advent. All observers should abstain from any type of work and instead engage in religious observances. The public have been advised to dress in white and face east while setting up the traditional hearth and to prepare meals at 10:05 p.m. on the 13th of April. At 9:17 a.m. on the 15th of April, the anointing of oil should be observed while clad in green and facing east, with neem leaves placed on the head and cologne leaves at the feet. The list advises people to depart for work at 7:56 a.m. on the 17th of April, dressed in blue. The release also requests people to refrain from leaving their homes to observe rituals and to limit social association and celebrations. The government has ordered economic centres across the country to be closed down following reports of members of the public ignoring health and safety protocols. Meanwhile, the provision of essential services continued unabated throughout the country. Despite the imposition of island-wide curfew, the government has instructed the country's economic centres be kept open in order to provide essential food items to the people. However, despite these steps were taken to shut the Valisara and Tamuttegama economic centres due to vendors and consumers thronging at economic centres and failing to adhere to safety protocols. With the shutting of a number of economic centres in the country, larger stocks of vegetables were seen unloaded directly at the Manning Market in Colombo. Despite the placing of a separate disinfection unit for arrivals, no member of the public was seen frequenting the facility. Meanwhile, Nipuna Rice Mills handed over a stock of rice worth 16 million rupees to 300 temples in the Polonnaruwa district to be distributed among 20,000 families affected by the prevailing situation in the country. Meanwhile, 120 children with special needs at the Met Seva Foundation in the area of Handapangala in Vallavaya were reported to be facing many difficulties due to the lack of food. A similar report came in from Ratnapura of 40 children and 5 staff members residing in the Kularatna Children's Home in Godakavela facing severe inconvenience due to a similar situation. Meanwhile, in Kalaniya, nearly 500 persons belonging to 136 families were reportedly deprived of essential commodities since the island-wide curfew was imposed. Meanwhile, the Association of Small and Medium Apparel Manufacturers has donated a stock of protective gear to the country's health workers. Steps were also taken to provide wheelchairs and dry rations for 3 disabled children in the Ruwanvalla area. Meanwhile, the Sri Lanka Optometric Association recently provided the Colombo East-based hospital with essential equipment. Further, the rural resort located in Kalpitiya has been handed over to the Sri Lanka Navy to be utilized as a quarantine facility. Staff of the Dehiyattakandiya Base Hospital have taken measures to produce face masks and other protective gear required for the hospital's medical staff with the assistance of the area's residents. Chambers have also been constructed within the hospital premises for the checking of patients with suspected COVID-19 symptoms. A program has also been implemented for the home delivery of medication to patients who rely on hospital outpatient clinics for their medical needs. Meanwhile, a situation of unrest was reported in the Ratnapura town owing to a delay in the opening of the Ratnapura outlet of the State Pharmaceutical Corporation. Meanwhile, the Ayurvedic Commissioners Department of the Sabaragamuwa Provincial Council, along with the Ratnapura Municipal Council and a social activist, carried out fumigation of the Ratnapura Municipal Council limits using Ayurvedic herbs. Meanwhile, 2 employees of the Millania Pradeshya Sabha were assaulted by 3 men who were under the influence of alcohol while providing drinking water to the people in the area. According to the Millania police, the suspects had also caused damage to the bowser carrying the water. Meanwhile, Minister of Health and Indigenous Medicine Pavitra Vanyarachi stated that 83% of the country's elderly, disabled and kidney patients have already been provided with their due allowances. Meanwhile, the Navy has manufactured a device called the Medimate, which is an automated remote control device which will aid medical professionals in treating COVID-19 patients. The device enables doctors to diagnose symptoms, communicate and provide medication to patients without having to come into close contact. Built by the Research and Development Unit of the Navy, the automated device was handed over to the Neville Fernando Hospital today. The Office of Missing Persons has requested President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to give special attention to the families of the missing and disappeared in the government's efforts to provide the public with relief in the face of the COVID-19 lockdown. In the letter, Chairman of the OMP President's Council, Sali Pires, highlighted that most of these families remain vulnerable with the loss of their primary breadwinners.
The chairman of the Office of Missing Persons, President's Council, Salia Pires, has written to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa requesting that special attention be given to the families of the missing and disappeared in the government's distribution of relief and rations. The letter states that while recognizing the grave threat posed by COVID-19 to Sri Lankan society, the OMP acknowledges the fact that the lockdown and subsequent curfew imposed has created difficulties for all sections of society, including the vulnerable ones. The OMP observes that Gazette number 2168-8, dated 6 March 2020, which establishes the Presidential Task Force, provides the task force with a specific mandate to take steps to focus special attention on women, low-income families, and persons directly at risk when undertaking such measures. The letter highlighted the fact that in many cases of disappearances, it was the primary breadwinner, a husband or a son, who was disappeared, leaving behind wives, elderly parents and young children with no access to income, welfare benefits, wages and social assistance. The OMP observed that in many cases, the most vulnerable among families of the missing and disappeared are elderly and are female-headed households and survive on the daily wages of one family member. Therefore, the OMP recommends that families of the missing and disappeared be included in any proposed relief measures, including the provision of food and financial assistance in response to the current crisis. As a short-term measure, the OMP recommends that dry rations be provided to families of the missing and disappeared through Grama Niladaris.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today thanked the Indian government for its response to a Sri Lankan government request for life-saving essential medicines to help combat the COVID-19 outbreak in the country. A consignment of 10 tons of aid arrived in the country yesterday aboard a special Indian government charter flight.
A consignment of 10 tons of essential life-saving medicines arrived in the country yesterday aboard a special charter flight from India. The consignment was gifted by the Government of India based on a request made by the Sri Lankan government to assist in its fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. The High Commission of India in Colombo in a statement said that this is yet another manifestation of India's unwavering commitment to stand with Sri Lanka in rain and in shine, adding that despite its own domestic challenges and constraints, India has always believed in sharing its resources and expertise with its friends and partners. India also pledged $10 million to the SAARC COVID-19 Emergency Fund, the statement noted, and that subsequently a video conference of health professionals in SAARC countries was held on March 26th. The Ministry of Health of India has also started offering online training sessions for health professionals in SAARC countries, the statement announced. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in a tweet expressed his thanks to the Indian government for the assistance in the country's hour of need.
Parliamentarians will be hosting a virtual Parliament Leaders Forum to discuss the country's COVID-19 response. The discussion will be streamed live via Facebook at 10 a.m. tomorrow. The platform will comprise of former Speaker of Parliament Karu Jayasuriya, former opposition leader Sajith Premadasa and former MPs Rauf Hakim, Mohammad Mano Ganesan Navin Disanayaka, Dayasiri Jayasekara, M.A. Sumandiran, Sunil Handunnetti, Patali Champika Ranavaka, Taraka Balasuriya, Vijayadasa Rajapaksa and Vasudeva Nanayakara. AdaDerana's island-wide campaign to extend a helping hand to people affected by the island-wide curfew continues as more locations were covered today. Accordingly, dry rations and essential food items were provided to people via temples, churches and other religious centres. This humanitarian effort has been wholeheartedly supported by the staff of the Valikada prison. AdaDerana, along with Dialogue Today, conducted the programme to provide essential food items to 178 families of the Samapura Public Housing Complex in Colombo 10, with the participation of the Head of Traffic Police, DIG Ajit Rohana, and other senior police personnel. Furthermore, Dialogue Relief Services have also pledged their support to this effort. Members of the public willing to help, willing to pitch in and contribute can contact us on 077 070 1010 and 077 2466 488. Welcome back in your business news. The US dollar buying rate topped the 200 mark today, settling at 200 rupees and 46 cents per dollar, marking a historic low for the currency. The buying rate has meanwhile ended at 193 rupees and 95 cents to the dollar, according to the central bank data. The currency has depreciated 5.6% since the 13th of March, when the slide first began.
So we have seen the currency significantly weaken over the last few days. Actually, if you take from the start of the year, now it has weakened about 6.7%, today trading at the mid rate of 194.8 rupees per dollar. However, if you take from the 13th of March, where the weaknessing accelerated, the currency has actually depreciated about 5.6%. So there are a number of reasons for the significant weakness in the currency. If you take over the last one month or 1.5 months or so, the overall global currencies have also significantly weakened, where most of the economies have pumped in a lot of liquidity into their systems. Similarly, Sri Lanka also has pumped in a lot of money into the system, somewhere in the range of 200 billion rupees. So with that, we are seeing our currency also weaken, though most people think it's pretty fast, but we feel that it is considerably slower considering the amount of money that has been pumped into the system, but it has been partly offset by the overall global currencies weakening. In addition to that, there is an added reason where there is a lot of foreign outflow into the system. Because of this situation, a lot of foreign investors has been taking a lot of money out of the system, especially from the rupee bonds. At the moment, the foreign holdings of Sri Lankan bonds have come down to 41 billion rupees, a historical low level for the foreign holdings. And with this foreign outflow, also the currency has weakened. So with that, the government also has taken a significant amount of measures to control the number of imports that are coming into the system. With all this reasoning, we feel that currency is likely to continue to weaken in the system. However, with the overall global currencies also weakening, we think the weakening of the rupee will be somewhat limited, and we actually target the mid rate to be around 200 rupees by the end of the year. So overall weakening of the currency is likely to be more gradual going forward.
Asian stocks stepped back today after 2 sessions of sharp gains as investors turned wary on getting too optimistic about the coronavirus while death tolls were still mounting across the globe. In Japan, the benchmark Nikkei 225 opened up 0.51%, while South Korea's Korea Composite Stock Price Index opened down 10.73 points or 0.59%. In Hong Kong, stocks started with losses following a 2-day rally as the benchmark Hang Seng Index dipped 0.57% or 139.32 points. The Shanghai Composite Index opened down 0.5% during the day. Meanwhile, oil rose as investors weighed whether output cuts being discussed by the world's top producers will be enough to offset the demand destruction wrought by the coronavirus. Futures in New York climbed around 3% towards $25 a barrel. Saudi Arabia and Russia are hammering out an agreement that a delegate said will reduce global output by about 10 million barrels a day. The Hambantota International Port received its first shipment of low-sulfur fuel oil last week. Bunkering vessel MT Melody docked at the Hambantota International Port and discharged approximately 25,000 metric tons of oil into the port's newly refurbished tanks. With the first shipment of very low-sulfur fuel oil in their tanks, the port is expected to begin bunkering for ships that call at the port soon, providing support to the heavily impacted international supply chain. The International Maritime Organization set a limit for sulfur in fuel oil used on board ships from 1st January 2020, and the Hambantota International Port Group's strategic partner Sinopec will supply Sri Lanka accordingly. Hambantota International Port Group COO Thissa Vikramasinghe has said that with a fully fledged oil testing laboratory on site, the port aims to become the bunkering hub of the region and will work with Sinopec and the local bunker suppliers in making this a reality. We'll return after this short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back in your international news. With a record spike in the U.S. death toll reported today, former U.S. Vice President Joe Biden stated that U.S. President Donald Trump has failed as president in his handling of the country's situation. The U.S. death toll in the past 24 hours climbed to a staggering 1,970 deaths.
Global infections of the novel coronavirus pandemic surpassed the 1.4 million mark, along with 83,114 deaths so far. The total amount of recoveries across the globe passed the 300,000 mark. During the past 24-hour forecast, the USA once again reported its highest single-day death toll, counting 1,970 deaths. Furthermore, the total number of infections in the US currently stands at 400,335. US President Donald Trump said that the federal government has 8,675 ventilators in a national stockpile available for states who need them, while another 110,000 are to be delivered in coming weeks. Meanwhile, former Vice President Joe Biden continued his criticism of President Trump's handling of the coronavirus outbreak in the U.S.
I've said it many times. The coronavirus is not Donald Trump's fault, but he does bear responsibility for our response. and taking his duty seriously. It's about doing the job as a president. He's failing. His failings and his delays continue. We continue to see it. And it's causing real pain for so many Americans. Americans should be leading the world, marshaling a coordinated global response, both on the public health and on economic fronts.
France's death toll stood at the second highest in the list, with 1,417 reported in the past 24 hours. The country's total death toll now stands at 10,328. Elsewhere in Europe, Spain confirmed the total death toll of 14,045, with the addition of 5,267 more deaths in the past 24 hours. The country's total infections stood at 141,942. Meanwhile, Italy confirmed 604 deaths during the past 24 hours, which is a slight decline compared to yesterday's single-day toll. The United Kingdom continues its struggle to contain the virus, as it confirmed 786 more deaths in the past 24 hours. Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who is currently at an intensive care unit due to the worsening of his condition, stated that he is responding well to treatment as he spent his third day in hospital. Meanwhile, Europe still remains the worst-hit continent from the coronavirus pandemic.
With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining. I'm Shanella Fernando. Good night.